Hi guys, so welcome to this Makeup Monday. We're going to be talking about exclusively one product today, and I'm going to be giving you kind of a week's worth of review on this concealer. I've been wearing it for about a week, trying out different ways of application, setting it, not setting it. So I have a lot to follow up with you about this product. This is the Bareminerals bareSkin Concealer. This is their Serum Concealer, and man, my very first impression, and I'm talking, I just came home and just started dabbing it under my eye, and wow, I loved it right away. That finish is spectacular, beautiful. But after wearing it for a week, have my opinions changed? You know, what are my overall feelings for this concealer, especially for eyes over 50. So if you're interested in finding out what I found out, please stay tuned. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go in now with this concealer. I have worn this for a few days now, both with setting it and not setting it, putting it heavy, going in light. Today I'm going to kind of go in between those things. I do like to kind of bring it down a little bit back here and a little on my upper cheek area. I'm also going to put a little bit here, a tiny little there, and just kind of right in here where I tend to get a little bit ruddy. So the thing that kind of blew me out of the water right away when I just, you know, had that very first impression was the finish of this is so pretty. It is gorgeous. It's not a flat drying look. It has a tiny bit of a satiny luminescent look, which I think is really pretty for us more mature women who, you know, aren't necessarily looking for an all matte look. At least, you know, I know that I'm not. And when I watch a lot of other mature beauty channels, it seems like across the board we're actually trying to achieve kind of a nice glow. You know, that's a sign of youth, and it makes our skin look, I think, the best when we're wearing makeup. So, but that is what I'm really adoring about this eye concealer. It is like no other finish I have ever had with any concealer that I've ever used over the years. And that is saying a lot, because I have tried quite a few. So it blends in beautifully. I've used it both with just tapping it in with my finger. I do think it's easier to use a sponge. It just covers more area and gives me kind of more of an even blend without working too hard at it. But it does not, it's just, it blends out gorgeous. It blends out beautifully. It doesn't settle into any of the crepiness to where I'm really having to struggle with that right off the get-go. I might use just a tiny bit, just right in here on both sides, just a little bit. The coverage is fantastic. I purposely did not go in and use any correctors of any kind, just because I wanted us to see what this looked like all by itself. I have had a little more problems lately with blood pooling, darkness, purpling in my under eye area, especially in the corner. And I have found that this does a really nice job dealing with that. So have no complaints whatsoever with the finish, with the blending, with the coverage, with the way it feels. It doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't settle into fine lines or anything. But unfortunately there is a but. And that is that I found when I wear it without any kind of setting powder, of course, it's kind of a given. It's just not lasting very long. When I use setting powder, it takes away that really pretty finish that I absolutely love so much, that if I want my face to look really nice for, I would say, 5+ hours, it just doesn't last long. It doesn't do anything weird. It just kind of disappears, and my under eye area does not look anything like it does now. And I would say it looks fresh like this for about 3 hours or so, and then it just doesn't look this good anymore. When I set it, and the only really kind of translucent light, finely milled setting powder that I have is the Kat Von D Locket. And I don't bake with it. I just kind of press it in lightly. And I'll do that right now. Then, of course, it is going to last longer through the day. Maybe if you're really loving the finish like I am, we should experiment with different setting powders. I know that Flower Beauty has a gorgeous kind of more of a finishing setting powder that has a bit of luminosity to it. So maybe I will try that to see if that will give me, you know, not take away the look that I love so much from this concealer. I mean, it is gorgeous. You will notice it right away when you are applying it, how pretty it is. So I'm just going to kind of go in with my Kat Von D Locket, and I'm just going to kind of press that in over the top, not moving it around too much. I'm going to wipe away any excess with my little brush here. So it really, it works okay. Again, I want to experiment with different kinds of setting powders because it does kind of change the way this looks now. It kind of gives me, now I'm looking in a 5x mirror, so that's not fair, but I can just tell by looking in my 5x mirror before I put on the setting powder and after that it really gives more of a little bit more of a muddled, grainier look in that 5x mirror. When I look at it normal, it still looks very pretty, and it gives me, of course, more lasting power. Now, it just dawned on me that I should probably go in and here with my Real Technique sponge, and maybe I'll just kind of press in that powder and it'll take away, hopefully, maybe a little of that graininess that I'm seeing in my 5x mirror. Yeah, it does. So I'd recommend doing that. I don't know why that didn't dawn on me until now, but just kind of press in the powder then with your sponge. It did take away that quite a bit, but again, I lost a little bit of that gorgeous finish that really made me go, oh, right when I put it on. So now that I have set it, it does last pretty much as long as, you know, any of the other concealers that I use. What boxes does this one actually check off for me? Well, the finish is absolutely beautiful. It is like no other finish that I have ever come across with a concealer. It is really hard to describe. It's a satiny, kind of subtle luminescentness that you get with this, and it is beautiful. Checks off that box for me. A box that I really created specifically for this concealer because I was not expecting that. It kind of blew me away a little. The next box that it checks off for me is blendability. My Lord, does this blend out beautifully. I did find that it blends out beautifully and easily, especially when you use a beauty sponge. I use the Real Techniques. It's that bright orange sponge. You can find it at Ulta. And tapping it in really just made it a breeze. I have also tried it with my finger. It worked beautifully with that as well, but I just found with the sponge it was so much easier to cover that much surface at once, and it just made it really easy. Definitely checked off my box there. Another box that it checked for me definitely is the consistency. Boy, that is hard as you get a little older. We're looking for almost the impossible. We're asking those formulators out there, can you make us a concealer, at least for me, can you make us a concealer that feels nice on the skin, isn't heavy, isn't cakey, and still gives us coverage? That's a hard one, and that is where I found myself struggling with concealers because I don't like to feel that heaviness under my eye. I don't like it to look cakey, and I definitely don't want my eyes to look worse after I'm done putting it on. This concealer absolutely checked that box for me. The consistency is not watery because it is a serum, so I don't want you to feel like it's a watery consistency. It is not. It's absolutely beautiful. It's not heavy. It's not sticky, and it isn't cakey, and it doesn't continue to change through the day and become cakey and settle in fine lines and crepiness. Definitely does not. So that consistency of this is really also what makes it blend out so well. And yet, by some miracle, it gives beautiful coverage. I would go in really light with this, don't go in hard and heavy, and it is buildable. So it, you know, go in light and it is buildable, especially with that Real Techniques sponge or your favorite beauty sponge. It definitely checks off that box. For me, a color match is a box because I am so fair. I generally always have to go with the absolute lightest shade that any line offers with their concealer, and that's why I grabbed this one, and I just hope that it's gonna be okay, because sometimes I just do that and I come home and it's kind of too light, and then I'll go get the next shade up thinking that's gonna be it, and then it's a little too dark or it's a little too orange, or it's so hard. Somehow I managed to get a beautiful match, getting this is the very lightest in the shade, that range that they offer, and man, oh man, is it a really nice match for me. So that box gets to get ticked off as well. There is one box that I couldn't tick off completely, and that is longevity, wearability. Unfortunately, the longevity of it falls short. I, at first, wore this without setting it. I know that that isn't a fair game because really all concealers need to be set, especially when you're over 50. You know, if you don't want them to settle in places they shouldn't be, you kind of have to set it. But I love the finish of this so much that I really wanted it to work. And although it didn't settle into places I didn't want it, all it did really was it just sort of disappeared. And I would say around the 3-hour mark of wearing it, 2.5, 3 hours, I'm like looking in the mirror going, where'd it go? It just sort of disappeared. It didn't oxidize, it didn't settle in weird places and get splotchy or anything like that. It just kind of disappeared. So that's a bummer. How did I remedy that? Well, you know, I had to set it. And I really have, unfortunately, it's just unfortunate because setting it, at least with the Kat Von D Lock-It translucent powder right now, that is my only translucent powder that I have. And I went in light. I didn't want to go in heavy with it. Definitely helped the longevity for sure. You know, that's kind of going to happen. That's a given. But it also took away a lot, not entirely, but it did take away a lot of that beautiful finish that I fell in love with. It's beautiful. So that's kind of a bummer. It's, you know, if you're only going to need it to last a couple hours, if you're going out in the evening, you'll be good. But when I put on a full face of makeup, it's generally because I need it to last for at least 5 hours. I don't ask for a lot of time, but I do need a good 5 hours of good wear. And yeah, kind of have to definitely set this one. So I want to experiment with those setting powders. I know Flower Beauty has one that everyone has been raving about that isn't their matte finish or their regular setting powder. It's one that has a little bit of glow to it, or I don't even know if you can call it glow. Just a little bit of something extra and luminosity. So I'm super excited to try that one just in general anyway. And so I'm going to try that one with this just to see if it will kind of continue to allow me to love this really amazing finish that this concealer gives you. So that really is the only box that I don't get to 100% check off. So I think this is a home run, to be honest, you guys. This truly, I feel confident by telling you that this is the best concealer that I have used so far on my mature eye tissue. I think, again, we ask for a lot of those boxes. We ask a lot of the formulators out there when it comes to concealer when you're over the age of 50. And I have to say, this is a home run for me, and I really think you should try it out. Okay, guys, that is it for this. I hope you found this helpful, and definitely let me know if you are currently using this as well and what you set it with. That doesn't completely take away that beautiful finish. I'd love to know what you're using. All right, guys, always stay young at heart, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.